I want us to recapture that image.
The first Kennedy-Nixon debate in 1960 showed just how important appearance is for political candidates.
There's been more growth in this administration than in its predecessor.
Most who listened to the radio thought Nixon won, but a large majority of those who watched on TV thought that Kennedy won. Nixon's image was hampered by his appearance. His shirt was ill-fitting, and he refused to take makeup to lighten his perpetual 5 o'clock shadow. Kennedy, by contrast, was tan and confident and well-rested. Since the debate is very much like a job interview, we've asked author and job interview expert Sue Morem to appraise the three candidates running for Minnesota governor, as well as give us some tips on doing a job interview.
Tom Emmer, he looks the part. He carries himself well. He's a larger man, so that carries some strength with him, but that can be overpowering to people. His gestures were very well thought out, very solid.
Giving people the freedom and the opportunity to realize their greatest dreams.
And maybe he needs to soften his approach a little bit because he can seem a bit stern, maybe even angry, and that can be threatening to others. But as far as his overall appearance and his manner, I thought he did a good job. I noticed he used the word we over and over again.
We believe that it's time to look at a different direction. We believe it's time to talk about government living within its means because we have proposed, we believe.
And I'm not sure we, the viewer, knows exactly who we is. Who is he talking about when he says we? And just like when you're in a regular job interview, if you're representing yourself, talk about I feel this or I'm doing this. It's okay to use we once in a while, but then he should let us know who the we people are.
We get elected.
I did notice that he did rub his nose and then do something else around his face.
And we'll start here with this. It's time to get past the conversation.
2 times within just a matter of moments. We need to be careful. Anytime we bring our hands to our face and start touching, rubbing the nose repeatedly can mean that we're lying or covering up something. Touching our hands to our face can even mean that we're nervous about something. So we just got to watch those gestures a little bit. Well, Mark Dayton has a great look. I mean, he dresses well, he's clean cut. I notice he tends to slur his words a little bit.
School in Minnesota now, they're told 95 different languages and dialects throughout our state.
Now, I'm not sure if this was due to this hockey accident that I've heard about, but if it is, I think he should let that be known more because it does sound like he slurs his words a little bit, so people might be left to wonder about that. If he could slow his speech down a little bit, maybe enunciate a little bit more, that might be helpful. He also seemed the most nervous to me. Like when the camera first went on him, he seemed a little tense. He doesn't use a lot of facial expressions. I think he could warm himself up and others to him if he just, overcompensated maybe for his speech, which isn't always as clear as it could be, and it was a little bit more animated. I think that would make him a little more interesting.
Independence Party candidate Tom Horner.
Well, I find it interesting that he's running as an independent because it seems that he's trying to separate himself from the others. The other two wore dark suits. I noticed he wore a lighter color suit in a couple of his debates. And he seems a little bit more casual, the way that he sat with his leg crossed over his other leg and his whole posture. He just seemed more relaxed, like, hey, here I am. And I don't know, I felt that his hair was just a little less styled. So he's sort of anti-establishment in a little bit, although he's dressing the part just a little more casually. I think he could be a little more animated in his speech. Seemed a little dull, a little flat.
I would like to ask these gentlemen what their philosophy is on abortion.
You know what, I appreciate the question, and Jackie and I, we believe in life, but I got to tell you, this election, it has to be about what is hurting the state of Minnesota, the loss of jobs.
I would say it's typically not a good idea to just avoid a question or divert the attention to another topic. If you get a difficult question, you can maybe turn it to your advantage by associating it with an experience that you had that's similar to the kind of question that they're giving you. And, if you can give a colorful story to go around it where you maybe aren't specifically giving an answer, but you're giving a lesson learned as a result of something similar. I mean, you don't want to dodge questions and avoid and divert all the way. You want to be as direct and honest as you can be. Well, certainly when you're in a job interview, you want to be a good listener. And I thought all the candidates did that pretty well. They were listening to what the other person was saying. But you have to be just as aware that the camera is on you or people are watching you even when you're listening. And so I noticed that some of the candidates, you can read what they're thinking when they're listening by their facial expressions.
Accounting services, legal services, haircuts, funerals, car repairs.
Sometimes we have to fake it in order to be taken the way that we want. So we maybe need to put on a more pleasant face even if we're feeling disgust. But so we certainly want to be a good listener. We want to speak to the question, address the question, speak in a personal term. I think when you can add a personal story and add that human touch, it makes you more human to others. And I think our politicians can do well by that, and I think we can do that as well when we're in a job interview.
Our first closing statement.
And what's great in a debate, when each candidate gets the chance to have their 60-second wrap-up, they, in a sense, get to summarize and resell themselves to the listening audience.
I'm asking you to vote for your future, to vote for what you know is right, to vote for Minnesota. Thank you very much.
And in a job interview, it's really important to have your 60-second pitch at the end, too. This is where you're going to summarize the reasons you are the candidate for the job, and also that's the time to ask for the job or let it be known that you're very interested in the position. And many times, job seekers fail to do that. They forget to do that, so it's really important. To Tom Emmer, I say button up and soften up. First of all, button your jacket. You're a big guy and you have a strong presence, but maybe you need to soften a little bit. And that beautiful white, salty with a little bit of pepper hair, I'd like the white shirt versus the blue. I think that's a good contrast with the dark suit and just gonna bring out your colors. So button up and soften up. My advice to Mark Dayton is relax and liven up. Have some fun, smile, be a little bit more enthusiastic. Tom Horner, you need to update your image. It looks a little outdated. So I would say go get a new hairstyle and maybe polish up your outfit, your colors, could use a little stronger contrast. The glasses even, a new pair of glasses. You just need to look a little more polished. Update that image.
I've been asked by the candidates to thank the American networks and the affiliated stations for providing time and facilities for this joint appearance.